So the NFL decided to drop the so-called hammer on Tom Brady and the New England Patriots on Monday. The Patriots were fined $1 million and were forced to surrender their 2016 first-round pick and their fourth-round pick in 2017. And Tom Brady was suspended for the first 4 games of the 2015 NFL season. Now, I'm not surprised that there were fines, loss of draft picks, and that Brady was suspended some. However, I have to say that I don't think the punishment fit the crime. And what I mean by that is that the punishment should have been stronger and more severe than what it ultimately was. And the way I look at it is this, is that for all the people that want to sit there and cry foul and talk about this being some Patriots witch hunt and this and that, and the lingering hangover from Spygate of 8 years ago, I sit there and look on the flip side and I say, they took it pretty easy on this guy and this organization when they frankly deserved a lot worse. So if anything, I think Tom Brady and the New England Patriots got a bit of a gift from the NFL office, most especially Troy Vincent, and as a byproduct, Roger Goodell. Now, let's talk about some of the bullshit that I've seen over the past 24 hours or so when it comes to this whole matter. And there's been some really stupid takes out there, so let's just confront them one at a time. There are those people that believe that Tom Brady was suspended 4 games just because of deflated footballs. No, that's not the case. And it is time for people to understand that that is not the case. The reason Tom Brady got a suspension, merited a suspension, and deserved a suspension, and frankly a stronger suspension than what he actually got, was because of the arrogance, was because of the lack of cooperation, the not going along with the investigation, surrendering over text messages, emails, that type of thing, the kind of cavalier attitude that he had towards the whole process. It's not just about deflated footballs. And to those people that think it's just about deflated footballs, they must stop the madness. Number 2, this whole notion that in the Wells report, the wording was more probable than not, that as a result, that still left some reasonable doubt. This is not a court of law. The same rules do not apply. And in order to hand out punishment, you don't have to fit into the same criteria as you would in the criminal justice system. This shit dates back to 2008 when the rules were changed by the NFL. This is something that the league and the players have collectively bargained and agreed to. It is not a proof beyond reasonable doubt. If you find some probability or some likelihood, that's good enough. And in this case, there was more certainly than not plenty of likelihood, possibility, probability. Because if we want to break this down to a more fundamental level, you see some of these guys that get suspended for off-the-field transgressions when they weren't even convicted in a court of law. I would bring up the case of Big Ben Roethlisberger. If you remember, he was suspended for the first 6 games of a season because of accusations that ultimately did not bring a guilty verdict in a court of law. The NFL thought there was enough probability or possibility that something bad had happened, so they suspended him anyways. And most people seem to agree with that suspension at that time because they thought Big Ben was acting like a dumbass and a jackass and the shit needed to stop. It's the same matter here. It doesn't have to be ironclad proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And to any of the idiots that still subscribe to this and don't understand that there isn't that much in terms of burden of proof, some circumstantial evidence, in this case, plenty of circumstantial evidence, is enough. Get over it. And this whole thing about this being some anti-Patriots crusade, if this was some anti-Patriots crusade by the National Football League, they would have come down a lot harder, in my opinion, on both Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Because if we want to look at cheating from cheating standpoint, you look at what happened with Spygate, and you're talking about the fine for Bill Belichick and the loss of a draft pick and so on and so forth. You know, in this case, they really didn't lose that much more in terms of draft picks The organization got fined $1 million, but frankly, from a monetary standpoint, they save almost $1 million because they don't potentially have to pay Tom Brady his $1.8+ million that he earned for the first 4 games of the season. So they lose 2 draft picks, 1 in each draft, and one of them's a 4th rounder at that in 2017, and they save money. The next thing, this whole notion of the report exonerated the Patriots organization and Bill Belichick, what have you. That shit doesn't matter again, and that most certainly doesn't fly with me. This is an organization with a pattern, a trend, a history of blatantly thumbing their nose at the rules and trying to come up with any type of competitive advantage in any way they possibly can. The Patriot way, if you will. And I find it astounding. It's similar to me with Peyton Manning, in that everybody praises him when things go well and talk about how much in control he is of the offense. It's his offense, and he's the offensive coordinator. He's the play caller when it's good. But when it's bad, you'll blame an Adam Gase or you'll blame this guy. Peyton Manning's not the offensive coordinator. He doesn't call the plays. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. No, you can't sit there and have one set of rules when it's good and one set of rules when it's bad. And I'm sorry, as much control totally and completely as Bill Belichick has over this organization, you're going to tell me that he doesn't know what's going on? Bullshit. And even if we entertain that thought for a second, let's say he doesn't know. Isn't it his job to fucking know? And as a result, either due to gross misconduct or gross incompetence and negligence, didn't Bill Belichick also deserve a suspension as well? Because there's a pattern with this guy. There's a trend with this guy. And that's the truth. And it's ridiculous. And I just can't believe some of the dumb shit that I've heard people say over the past 24 hours and even over the past few months when it comes to this whole matter. This does matter. This comes to the integrity of the game. It doesn't matter if it was just deflating footballs. You're talking about an individual in Tom Brady who helped change the rules, along with Peyton Manning, mind you, in 2006 to get team control over game ball preparation. And I saw one very interesting stat talking about the huge decrease in Tom Brady's fumble ratio after that rule change took in effect in 2007, I believe it was. You can't sit there and thumb your nose at the rules, but at the same point in time, not claim to fully understand it when you're one of the ones that helped change the rule and push for the damn rule to be put in place to begin with. So how long has this crap been going on? Then I see NFL players and other media members talking about how it's ridiculous that Brady got 4 games while Ray Rice only got 2. Yes, Ray Rice's suspension of 2 games was ludicrous and ridiculous. And the fact that Roger Goodell still has a fucking job is outrageous, ridiculous, and ludicrous. It should not have taken the release of a video to sit there and then get Ray Rice indefinitely suspended, where he also got hosed because he shouldn't have been indefinitely suspended based off of the current conduct policy at the time when it came to domestic violence issues. I agree, this penalty should have been much more severe. But you're also talking about something that happened a year ago. And now that policy has changed, where I believe the first offense was like 6 games. I believe that's what it is now. So stop comparing it to Ray Rice. It's an entirely different situation, an entirely different time and climate. Yes, the Ray Rice punishment was ridiculous, but it was ridiculous on its own for so many different levels. If we sit there and say that, then we can talk about how ridiculous it is that somebody gets suspended 4 games for steroid use or for smoking some weed compared to getting 2 games for knocking your fucking fiance out in a damn elevator. But then we get the idiots that sit there, and this is the players especially, and what a surprise, some of them don't fucking get it and don't understand. They say that Tom Brady getting 4 games is ridiculous because he's getting the same penalty as steroid users. Well, fundamentally, it's still cheating. You're trying to gain an unfair competitive advantage. So from that measurement, you morons like Steve Weatherford and other dumb fucks, it does compute. It does equate. But what makes Tom Brady's even worse? And don't sit there and try to deny that he wasn't involved with this. If you believe that, you are some dyed-in-the-wool Patriots fan that isn't going to like anything I'm going to fucking say anyways. Fuck off. All right? Come on. The guy knew. He was a part of it, and you fucking good and well know he was. You ain't cheating. You ain't trying. But it wasn't just Tom Brady again, and this is an important distinction that must be made. It wasn't just the fact that he was a part of trying to circumvent the rules. It was the way he had a lack of contrition. There was a lack of cooperation. He was very arrogant about the process. He refused to cooperate, handing over key evidence, what have you. So that makes it worse than just a steroid cheat, because a steroid cheat, once he either fails to take the test and gets the automatic suspension, or he takes the test and he drops hot, so to speak, and he gets his suspension, that's it. You can go through appeals process, whatever, but that's it. Tom Brady went above and beyond that. In my opinion, this guy should have been suspended at least 6, if not 8 games for the 2015 season. And at least, if anything else, been initially suspended for 8 games, so that way the NFL could have saved some face, sent a really strong message, and then later on, if through the appeals process it's reduced to 6 or 4 games, the NFL really can't control that, so I'm not going to have a lot of gripes with them. But now you're talking about a 4-game suspension that could go to appeal, and based off of some of the language and the lack of understanding by an appellate court, this shit could be reduced down to 3 or 2 games. And then what type of message are you really fucking sending? You're sending absolutely none. The Patriots have a pathetically predictable pattern of sitting there and trying to skirt the rules and cheat the system. And Tom Brady's whole thing to the Baltimore Ravens about, well, you need to read the rule book. Well, Tom, maybe you need to bother reading the rule book, including the rule that you, along with Peyton Manning, helped put in place in 2006 about who takes care of the preparation of the game balls. Tom Brady did it. And deep down, everybody knows he fucking did it. And this is not a situation where you need to have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If anybody still is hung up on that, they need to get over that shit. This is not a court of law. That's not how it works in the National Football League, goddammit! More probable than not is good enough. That is more than enough. In fact, the NFL has suspended people and suspended players in the past for less than that. Tom Brady earned this suspension. He merited this suspension. He deserved this suspension. And from a New England Patriots standpoint, I'm astounded that people are buying into this bullshit that Belichick had nothing to do with it. Really? And even if he didn't, even though I don't buy that shit for a guy that's supposed to be so completely and totally in control of his organization, shouldn't he been more involved? Shouldn't he know what's going on? And either way, shouldn't you still be sending a strong message? And then to Robert Kraft and his defiance and that bullshit show he put on in January, that Super Bowl week, talking about how he expected an apology at the end. Now he's whining and crying like a bitch because his star player and his team got implicated in yet another cheating scandal. Where the fuck is the suspension for Robert Kraft? We're suspending general managers from freaking competition committees or team presidents like Rich McKay because of pumping in crowd noise. We're suspending general managers like Cleveland's Ray Farmer for 4 games because of text messages to coaches on the sidelines from the freaking press box. But Robert Kraft doesn't get fined himself. He doesn't get suspended. And in fact, you give them monetary savings by giving them the $1 million fine as opposed to having to pay Tom Brady's $1.8 million. Ooh, whoopee, they lost some draft picks. So now we're punishing young players that had absolutely nothing to do with this fucking scenario by sitting there and taking away a first-round pick. That's one less kid that has the potential to earn 5 years of guaranteed big NFL money. Who the fuck is that punishing? You can talk about the Patriots, it punishes them. Fuck the hell that. It punishes the wrong people. If you wanted to send a really strong message to the New England Patriots, then you suspend Brady for 8 games, you suspend Belichick for 4 games, you suspend Robert Kraft for 4 games, and you take that $1 million fine and you make it $5 or $10 million fucking dollars. And you say the next time it happens, you're going to be forfeiting some goddamn games. The NFL took it way too light and way too easy on Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, in my opinion. I know some people will disagree with me, but some people just don't get this, don't seem to understand this, don't seem to comprehend this. Does this take away from the Super Bowl victory? Who the fuck cares? The Patriots won the Super Bowl, and if you're a Patriots fan that's all butthurt and pissed about it, who gives a fuck? Your team just won the Super Bowl. These cheaters have won 4 Super Bowls in your lifetime. You know what I'd do for the Bears to win one more? Fucking you guys got caught. Accept it. Deal with it. And then go buy some Super Bowl memorabilia, damn it.